Hello, it's Mrs. Glasson. Welcome to my 11 Plus revision quiz and welcome to my beautiful library, a very fitting place for me to be sitting and telling you about my wonderful subject of English. My 11 Plus revision quiz will help you to find out what you already know, but also show you, elucidate for you, what you might need to learn. So it's well worth doing. And students, before we move on, let me just tell you a little bit about me. So I've been an English teacher for 30 years. I've worked at 2 grammar schools. I'm an 11 Plus tutor, but I was also an 11 Plus examiner. So I used to mark creative writing tests. I did that for 8 years. So basically it was up to me and my wonderful colleagues to decide whether or not people passed 11 Plus English and then eventually went on to entering a grammar school. So when it comes to the 11 Plus and to devising a quiz like this, I'm very, very experienced. The 11 Plus is based, as you should know, on the National Curriculum for English, Key Stage 2. Parents, you can find it in a much more accessible form than this very weighty tome on the internet, of course. So that's what the 11 Plus is based on. That's what when we write 11 Plus exams, that's what we are testing you on. And it's not a big surprise, is it? You're in Year 5, you have been taught Key Stage 2 National Curriculum skills and the knowledge that's in here. And so therefore, that's what you're being assessed on. So we've got me knowing what is in the 11 Plus and what should be taught, but also the level. That's really important. My 11 Plus revision quiz is challenging. It's true, but so is the 11 Plus. It's a selective exam. Not everybody's going to pass the 11 Plus. That's the whole point. However, if you are taught by an expert like me, who knows the correct level, who's been doing this for a very long time, who is a subject specialist, who has read all of these wonderful, wonderful books and can pass on to you what I've learned from those books and also wonderful book lists as well, then you've got a much better chance of excelling in the 11 Plus. So without further ado, let's get on with my 11 Plus quiz. And first of all, I'm going to give you an overview of the quiz. Here we are. This is an overview of the quiz. So there are 20 questions and there is a focus on vocabulary, grammar, creative writing and comprehension. So all of the wonderful components, in short, of my beautiful subject, all of the skills and knowledge that is defined in here, and all of the different components that go into making the 11 Plus curriculum. Are you ready, students? Vocabulary. Now, I am very well known, as you probably know, for my teaching of ambitious vocabulary. Ambitious vocabulary that helps you in your English exams, and ambitious vocabulary to quote the creative writing mark scheme. Okay, so number 1, my students are going to love this, parsimonious. Parsimonious. So 1 mark for the correct spelling and 1 mark for the correct definition. And yes, of course, you need to spell the definition correctly in order to be awarded the mark. Oh, incidentally, please do stop me, pause me after each question so that you can write down your answer. There's plenty of time. Number 2, again, a gift to my students. 1 antonyms for parsimonious. So an antonym for parsimonious. And there are so many brilliant words that you could choose. Number 3, 1 synonyms for parsimonious. Synonyms for parsimonious, spelt correctly, of course. Now, those words, I think I even teach in the free lesson, so there are no excuses for not knowing them. I'll talk about the context afterwards in a second. Number 4, pusillanimous. Pusillanimous, and the correct definition. And of course, I use and teach this wonderful word in mock test 3. Number 5, a word that's key to your creative writing, so I'm sure that you know it. Eponym. Eponym. The correct spelling and the correct definition for 2 marks. And a clue, there are, of course, and my students will know this, some wonderful eponyms right behind me. Okay, so while you are just checking your answers, the context is key. So these words come from my teaching of the fantastic novella by Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. My foundation course students are very familiar with it, and in my revision course I use it as part of my teaching resources. So as you must know, creative writing, comprehension, vocabulary and grammar need to be taught together to be taught correctly. So it's by reading the work of great writers that we become great writers ourselves. So make sure you read it. So it's a great starter, Dickens. It's very brief, and obviously the story is so well known. And in my mock test 2, and in my revision course and my foundation courses, I of course tell you exactly what you should be reading, and also parents how to support your children in their reading, and not abridged versions. Oh horror, they do not teach you how to write. What they do is they encourage you to write very badly indeed. And now here we have a section that I know you're all going to find very easy. Very, very basic Key Stage 2 grammar. Number 6, what are the 4 main types of noun? Obviously, I don't mean pronouns. I mean the 4 main genres. Again, number 7, basic 11 plus grammar. And parents, incidentally, as I mentioned, please do watch to the end because I'll show you where you can find these things in the national curriculum. Number 7, determiners. What are the 7 types? And again, I don't want examples of the types. I want you to write out the 7 types of determiner, always pausing after each question to give yourself enough time. Number 8, look at that, parents and students. I can barely look at that terrible grammatical howler there. 8 items or less. Obviously, you can see what's wrong with that. Please, can you write it for me in grammatically correct English? And I think most supermarkets, because of people like me who complain about these things, have corrected that terrible howler. And incidentally, I have a whole lesson on my bugbears, not just my bugbears, but this whole idea of grammatical howlers that you can find around you, but also that you make in English, and that will obviously bring down your mark in the 11 plus, and certainly for creative writing. Creative writing examiners like me award marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar. And if you think about it, that's not a big surprise. Those wonderful women and men behind me, they don't make grammatical errors. In fact, they use grammar effectively. And that is at the very top, as you know, of the creative writing mark scheme. Okay, number 9, Another howler there. Please can you write A, B or C? Only in one of those sentences can you see that lovely apostrophe used correctly. So is it A, B or C? Okay, so this is the next section. Number 10, something that your primary school teachers go to great lengths to teach you, something that is flagged up in the national curriculum for English, something that you must know. Standard English. Just write a definition of what it is. So as 11 plus examiners, creative writing examiners, we are assessing you on your use of standard English. It doesn't matter what else the writing form might be. We are looking to see that you are proficient in standard English, and therefore you must know what it is in order to know how to be proficient in it. So standard English. Okay, number 11. Different sentence types. You will know, and certainly in the revision course and the foundation course, I talk about how to impress creative writing examiners. So one of the things is showcase your sentence types. And you would have been taught this obviously by your creative writing teachers. So there are different sentence types for varied syntax. I just want 3. So please can you name 3 different sentence types, please, for syntax? And then can you please do the same for tone? Very, very important. So my students, my live online students, we spent at least 10 lessons learning grammar, learning syntax, learning about varied tone, because there is no point in writing anything unless you have been equipped with the skills, unless you have been given the tools to write well. And as I've said previously elsewhere, I'm often surprised when people say to me, do you just teach creative writing or do you just teach comprehension? For me, it's, how do you teach one without the others? In order to be good at creative writing, you have to read the work of skilled writers, as I've said. And certainly no one can learn any English or be good at English unless they've learnt English grammar. It's like, now, I'm not very good at maths, but it's like teaching complex maths or even intermediate maths without learning how to count first. So you must start with grammar, and creative writing and comprehension are entwined. Okay, number 13. So the writing triplets of the national curriculum. All of the Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 creative writing forms fall into one or more of the categories outlined by the writing triplets. And as I have said, there's a grammar school in Sutton that actually says, for our 11 plus creative writing, we test you on tasks that will fall into one or more of the writing triplets. And it's obvious, what else are you going to be tested on? And number 14, something that is really important. You need to know the creative writing mark scheme. So what's at the top for brilliant creative writing? And I know you're going to find this easy. 2 words beginning with C. Really important. And there are no excuses for not knowing this because, again, this is part of one of my free lessons. Okay, so transactional writing, which, as you know, is part of creative writing. You must use evidence. I'm sure you've been told this many, many times. What are the 2 types of evidence that you must use for your persuasive writing to be excellent and to be wonderfully commended by creative writing examiners? So 15, one form of evidence, and 16, the other form of evidence. And again, my students, you'll probably be able to recite all of this stuff in your sleep. Number 17, these terms that I teach in Lesson 5 of the Foundation course and revise in Lesson 5 of the Revision course. These terms which are key to your creative writing. So these terms which make you, so the skilled use of these different techniques is what makes you an excellent writer. And if you're going to be making inferences, you need to know what they are. So again, creative writing and comprehension entwined and taught together. So I know that you know what these terms mean. That's way too easy. So it should say 1 mark there as well to the side. I can see that I've missed that. So I want to know alliteration, assonance and sibilance. What are the differences? Okay, so for 1 mark, what are the differences? Similarly, personification, zoomorphism and cremomorphism, those wonderful terms that you must know in order to be a good reader, in order to be good at inference questions, and which you must be able to use effectively as a creative writer. So again, I know that you know what they mean. I just want to know what are the differences. Number 19, referenced in the national curriculum, as I'm about to show you, parents, you must know your tenses. So we study English. I've given you that wonderful, wonderful sentence there, and I've put it into the past simple. We studied English. Please, can you write it in its past continuous form and in the present perfect form? Excellent. And there's nothing that alerts a creative writing marker more, or an English teacher more, when we're reading a piece of writing to the fact that somebody's English isn't so good and is not so secure as this insecure use of tenses. So it's a basic mistake. So you need to know what the tenses are. And of course, you need to know how to identify them and to use them well. And finally, comprehension. So, as you know, when you take my beautiful subject and you reduce it to multiple choice answers, there are only 3 types of comprehension question that exist. And obviously, in order to know how best to deal with the 3 different types, you need to know what they are. It's a really basic principle. For creative writing, you need to know the creative writing mark scheme. If you're being tested on standard English, you need to know what it is. If you're being tested on, and so on. So the 3 comprehension types, what are they, please? Okay, thank you very much. Well done. So you can see that you need to go to my website for the answers. But before that, parents, I did mention that I was briefly going to show you how to find some of these things that I have tested your children on in the National Curriculum for English. Okay, so there it is. I've downloaded it. Easily found on the internet. Your children are at Key Stage 2. So if you have a look at the different pages, obviously your children are in Year 5, it kind of tells you what they should have learned, so the skills they should have. So we've got synonyms there, we've got clauses, tenses, as I mentioned to you. Also, if you search things like standard English, sentence types, you will find all of them there. So this is the document that informs English teachers like me who write 11 plus exams, English exams, obviously, informs us what to include in the exams. So this is basically the syllabus for the 11 plus exams. But as you'll appreciate, the 11 plus is more complicated than that. It's a fiercely competitive selective exam. So it has to be taught at the correct level for selective entry. And as I said to you, I am very, very well versed in what that level is, having worked at a grammar school. I always think of it as Key Stage 2.5. So there are going to be skills that are higher. Our expectation is slightly higher than you would find in the average mass of the population. So there are things that are not in the national curriculum, those special things that we look for in successful 11 plus students. Okay, now I'm just going to have a quick word with the students and of course a final word with you parents. Okay, how did you do? Did you enjoy taking the quiz? I hope so. All of the answers are at www.mrsglasson.com. And parents, if you'd like me to teach your child, then please do go to www.mrsglasson.com to find out more about my courses and also to find out more about my mock tests. Once again, I really am an expert on the 11 plus. And I also know the correct level for selective entry. I've taught year 7s in 2 grammar schools. So therefore, I know what the standard is. So as I know the final destination, therefore I know very well how to get your child there. So please do go to www.mrsglasson.com. Do subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I hope that I have really inspired you, students, through my enthusiasm. And hopefully you too will be reading some of the wonderful books that I'm going to recommend to you. And I hope to meet you perhaps in our live Zoom sessions. So hopefully you're going to go forth and you're going to be enthused and inspired. This is a beautiful, wonderful subject. And when you improve in English, of course you improve at school. You're more likely to do better in the 11 plus. But mostly, English isn't just about exams. English is everywhere and it will help you to succeed in life. Because English is amazing. It's not just about learning things. It's about life. Thank you.